So those who watch my YouTubes on a regular basis will have noticed that I haven't been doing many just lately. And it's not because it's winter. I don't mind the cold. It's really because of my dodgy arm. And I know I keep saying I'm not going to mention it, but it's kind of ruled my life over the last 2.5 to 3 months. Now, 4 years ago, I had the same problem, but in my left arm. And that lasted for a full 1.5 years before it finally repaired itself. This year, or at the end of last year, it became my right arm that got the problem. And I'm still not 100% sure how that happened, but it did. So that's why, if you're wondering why I've not been turning out many videos. But I've decided I have to now. We're getting to the beginning of spring, or spring is just around the corner, so I need to get on with the garden again. Now, one of the last storms we had blow through the garden actually damaged this plum tree. And since then, I've had to go back in and take off a further 2 limbs. This one being one of them, this the other one. Now, it really irritated me, to be quite honest, because I'd been working on this tree all of last year and pruning it back in and getting it to be a really nice shape. The problem, I think, has come from the fact that it's not really been maintained over the last, well, I don't know how many years, but it's not been maintained. Now, the little stripe that you see there, that was a clothesline that I had to take off due to the fact that it was cutting into the tree, as you can see. But also, it's not really been looked after properly, because you can see these rotting bits that are in there. And there's quite a few on this one. They're all over, to be honest. They cover the whole tree, which is a shame, really. It would have been a simple job just to keep maintaining it. Now, this happens to be the best of the plum trees, in my opinion. It's the sweeter one of the two. We have another one there. That's not as sweet, and that one's a lot more healthy than this one. So maybe that one is either a little bit younger or just didn't get the same treatment, or got more treatment rather than this one. I fear that in the short term, this tree might have to come down. I don't know. I'm going to try and keep it now that I've done the pruning. But as you can see, there's everything I've taken off of it. Quite an amount. And there were some big, thick, chunky sections I took off as well. But a neighbour's since been and taken those away for. And it seems to be fairly warm, or warmer than you would expect it to be at this time of year. If I go back 20, 30 years, I could nearly guarantee it would still be very, very cold at this time of year. And snowy, especially where I'm living now. Because we're up at the top of the, well, not at the top of the Wolds, but we're fairly high up on the Lincolnshire Wolds. So you would have been snowed in, as we were not more than 2 villages away from this very place, and we were snowed in all the time as kids. So the cutback, I have to start it now, early. I'm starting it earlier than I would have. And one of the reasons is because I'm getting behind because of my arm. And I know if I try and tackle this in one go, I'm just going to do even more serious damage to the arm. So what I've been doing is I've actually done 1, 2, maybe 3, we could class it as 3 borders now. And I've done the chop back. This being one of them. This is the long border. It's looking quite good. And I've always told people, if you want to keep the show going through winter, leave stuff alone, like this Carl Forster border. You can see it's still looking good. But that is going to be the next one to come down. But today, I worked on not this border, a different border. This was done the other day. So I gave myself a bit of a gap so that I didn't do total damage to my arm. And what I tell people is, if you've got some evergreens, then they help to keep the show going as well as all the late season perennials and grasses that I tend to leave till about, well, mid-February, as I said. People cut back way too early, but if you can keep the show going a little bit longer, it's definitely beneficial, because otherwise you start looking at a bare garden till things really do start kicking back in. But evergreens help to change that, which are keeping the show going. Now remember, it's still a very young garden and very young borders, so some of these plants are not as big as they should be. including this arbutus that you can see here. So that is the strawberry tree, and that will get a way bigger than that. It'll be quite a large shrub in the end, but it's still small at the moment. So this is where we've got on this border. Now this is the long border, one of the first borders I built or dug out, and it incorporates to the right there the floating deck, to the left we've got the cloister pergola, and then the new path I put in last year, which is looking really nice now. Now the long border carries on through. I'm sure many of you will realise, because you've been watching other videos, that this border carries through past the floating deck to the other side, and that is still part of the long border. So what we'll do is go for a little wander. I'm not going to make this a very long video. So there's a couple of grasses I've cut out. There's an astrantia that just died away anyway. There's an elianthus, and this one is salicifolius. You can see the stub there. That was quite some size. It got right up above that structure there by 2 to 3 foot easily. Now the one thing I realised I forgot to cut back are these. This is Hackanachoa, these little ones. And they're looking quite good, and I think these are going to finally do the job in there, because we've tried a couple of other plants in this area that simply weren't working, but I'm hopeful that the Hackanachoa will. The birch is looking great. I keep looking at it from up at the house, and I know I've got the structure right now, and I have to be very careful not to cut this back too many times now, but to allow it to grow. I've got the structure right. Trees don't look as good as this without some sort of human intervention. I go in there on a regular basis and take stuff out, and I will again this year. I will be looking for different branches that could be removed, and in fact I can see one right now as I'm filming this. There's a very small one. I'll try and point it out. That one there is crossing, so it's going all the way across the other ones, and there's no real need to keep that in there. So what I shall do is I shall remove that another time when I come out, and that should help to improve the shape again. Now it looks like it needs a bit of a clean, and it does need a clean really. That's a lot whiter if you just wash it. I tend to leave it. I don't bother at this time of year. Technically we're still in winter, so there's no point. Just leave it. And then as spring really does kick in, I'll probably give that a little bit of a wipe down. Now the other border that I've been working on, actually before we go further, let's go to the other side of the long border, because I did mention that the long border does come this side as well. And so it does. So it is a long border. That's probably 30, 35 foot long, this particular border. And I think it's around 10 foot in depth, which is a good depth to give it. And if you're building a border, it's better to make it wider if you can. Because remember, one perennial can be 2 to 3 foot wide itself, including plants like this viburnum. And that's Viburnum David, and that's looking really good now. Quite happy with that. We've got a Fatsia going on over there as well, Fatsia japonica. Bit more of a protected area I've given that, and it sits under that elder that I talk about all the time, because I love that elder. And then the pampas grass, Cortaderia, and that's Aceloana, and that's Patagonia. And that's really nice. That's coming on a treat there. I wish I did it just slightly to the left of where it is now, but I think it'll be okay this year and probably next year. And the reason I say I could do with it to the left is because I've got this box edging, and it's going to come over the box edging and probably cause problems short term. But there's nothing to stop me chopping a bit of that away. So the long border is done. I don't need to touch it anymore, apart from rake through and see if I can find some seedlings of any plant. I've not found any yet. Don't always find them in when you dig through. I do leave it late deliberately as well, because I hope to find some seedlings. Now the seedlings may turn up as spring comes in and as summer comes in, so we might find something interesting, who knows. Now this is the boardwalk border to the left, and to the right that hasn't been touched, that's the owl border. That's yet to be done. As I said, because of my arm, I can't really do too much in one go. I've quite enjoyed getting out here, actually. It's done my soul the world of good. So it's looking pretty good. I think it's looking good. I do like to see it at this point because I get to see what's doing well already and what might fail. Although you can't tell at the moment. I can see bits of new growth already coming in. And it's looking, generally it's looking good. It's a good time to check out your plants to see just what is going well. This one here is a euphorbia. And that's Euphorbia palustris. And that particular one is Wallenberg's Glory, one of the nicer ones. A real good doer, that one, actually. I really do like it. It's one of the deciduous ones, so it dies away, as you can see, whereas ones like this Euphorbia Malachi, my own one, are pretty much evergreen. And that's looking good. Now, I've not given this a proper rake through just yet because all this cutting this morning was playing my arm up, so I kind of slowed myself down a bit. Just gave it a brisk rake through, but I will go back through that and I'll give it a good going through because I like to find different bits and bobs, and I know this one has yielded, or this border has yielded many seedlings in the past. This being one of them, another little tiny euphorbia, and that's purpurea, that little tiny one on the left. Now this is Euphorbia cross Pasteuri, and I've said that year on year it will get knocked back, and it does. You can see it's looking a bit sorry for itself. Last year that was 3 stems, or the year before last year rather. This year, or the end of last year, it produced a lot more. I've cut a couple of stems off because, or 3 stems looking at that, because they simply just turn their tail up completely. And experience has taught me to leave some of them alone, and I shall do just that and see what happens. Overall, it's looking good. This border's looking good. I can't wait till we get going into the spring, actually. I mean, even now it looks good. Giving a garden a good structure and a good set of bones makes that garden look good all year round, irrespective of the time of the year. So, as I said earlier, technically we're still in winter, and this is looking good. It's got a lot to show me. And it is looking good. I notice a lot of people have cut back quite early, and a lot of those people are people that have got a lot of the bulbs, the winter bulbs or spring bulbs coming up, and that's why they do it. But I don't have too many of those at all, to be honest. I'm trying to think if I've got any in here. I don't think I have. I've got lots of new perennials that will make themselves known this year. They were just single stems last year. But this year they're going to hopefully grow really well. So we'll wander around the back of here and we'll just take note of this while we're here. This is a begonia. It was here when I came, this particular begonia. It's all over the garden. Don't know which one it is. I do collect these now. I've got about 5 different varieties, but that's flowering. So it's the time of the year to flower. So although I don't have a lot of spring bulbs, I do have things like the begonias that set flowers, and the hellebores. I've 1 or 2. Having said that, here we go, look. Here we go. We've got Aranthus imalis doing its thing. And that's looking pretty good. Oh no, look at this, you see. This is my lack of coming out through winter. Now this grass, I will sort that out. I'm not too worried. The problem is it's already seeding. Some of the shorter grasses do produce a lot of seed, and before you know it, they've set them all over the place. So I need to get on top of that quick. So this miscanthus is looking good. Well, for me it's looking good. For yourselves, it probably looks terrible. But I like to see this at this time of year. Now, I've noticed that Hamish has been using this as his toilet. It's a bit annoying, really. But at least I can see where he's going, so that'll be quite easy to clean up. This is getting ready for its cutback, and I will need to do this in the next month because it will start growing pretty quick. In fact, there will be signs already of some growth in there. Let's have a look, see if we can see any coming up yet. No, a little bit too early, but another month we should be seeing some new leaves emerging. So there's quite a lot to do, really. Quite a lot to do, the cutback. This is where the telegraph pole pergola is going, as you know. I'm getting hopeful that in the next month I'll be able to sort that out. And it won't really matter if I just hang back on this telegraph pole pergola walk, because I need to get on top of the cutback. The pergola walk itself won't hurt to be left for a bit longer. And that looks good, doesn't it? You see, when you see things like that, these grasses, they just offer so much. This is why I'm desperate not to cut back too early. So actually, by having a dodgy arm, it's made sure that I can't do it all in a wanna. So you can see down the bottom there where I've been cutting, a little bit sparse, it's got some evergreens in there. Whereas up here, still looking good, because okay, it's dead. They're all dead and that, but you know, the insects are going in there, making it look good. That hellebore's looking cracking through there. You can just make that out. That's our gutifolia. I love these ordinary ones. They're my favourites, to be quite honest, as far as hellebores are concerned. You can keep your blousy ones. I do like them. I like the look of them. I've got 1 or 2 in the garden, but these I prefer. Viburnum's still flowering well as well. That's Viburnum Bodnan Tent. And I think it's dawn. I'm not sure. But I believe it'll be dawn, because it was here when I got here, and I suspect the lady would have planted that many, many, many years ago. While we're here, we'll just show you. This is which one's this? This is a Helenium. Unknown. Oh no, it is a known variety actually. Helenium. I'll look that one up, but I do know the name of that one. I'll look it back up. And it's the Carl Forster one that was discovered by Carl Forster, the great grassman. And I'll name it. And you can see, by the way, I've just took that up, how easy it is to get these things off. So it shouldn't take me too long, but I've got to get on with it. So we'll end the video here. Show you this. Keep tantalising yourselves with this, don't I? I keep showing you it. And as of yet, not happened. But here's the telegraph poles. It is going to happen. Just don't know when. So there you go. That's a purpureum. Euphorbia purpureum. What's that label at the side of it? That's what happens. Oh, there we go. A geranium. That's that particular geranium there. Canterburyensis, Cambridge. It's a nice one, that, actually. So we've a lot to do. In fact, I can see now that I need to lift this. This is my own miscanthus, and you can see all the green in there, but that is a wild grass. And I've said before, I'm going to lift that this year and take all that grass out. Get it sorted. So there you go. A little bit of a walk around. The cutback has begun. I prefer to do it about mid-February usually. But as I said, I'm doing it now because I need to be mindful that my arm is playing me up, and I don't want to totally wreck my arm. So I'm doing it border at a time. Hopefully the next time I do a video for you, we'll be showing you the whole garden, and it should all be cut back at that point. And there you go. I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da!